I mean, so that's like the simplistic way to look at it, but the things Terence McKenna talks about, the things he's experienced, and like shared experiences in the depths of psychedelic experience, things people come back from, like these trips, and they're just like they experience the exact same thing, stuff like that. But just some of the theories he's come up with, like, I mean, he realizes they're not provable in this programming of reality because he found them in a completely different programming, or he saw the world in a completely different way. Our language hasn't even developed and evolved to a point to even describe.
We have no words for what's in there.
Exactly, right?
That's why it's like free game. Like he can refer to things like elves and stuff, and it's like, okay, I guess we'll call those things elves whenever I see them when I'm tripping or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Our language falls short of that experience. It kind of always falls short of any experience. But
yeah, the movie Arrival was fucking awesome when it came to that concept.
Really cool.
Yeah,
it's something me and Mike talked about quite a bit, like before the movie, like just.
Is that's the one with Bullock, right?
Nope. No. This is I think it's Jodie Foster. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Jodie Foster's the one. Contact.
Okay.
Rivals got what's her name? She's wonderful. I forget her name. She's a really good actress.
I'm not familiar with the actress in the movie, so
she was
I got it, guys.
like a linguist though in the movie,
Thanks,
trying to figure out the language of these aliens, and rather than having like sentences in a line, they have a sentence that's really not a sentence.
Spoiler alert.
Amy Adams.
Oh, is that a spoiler?
I don't know.
Because literally, it's just they had a really cool way of thinking of language as like
I don't really
a continuous circle.
For the movie.
It's just a really interesting way of thinking about how they interacted with space-time and how they thought about it compared to humans doing from left to right. It was just this really cool.
It's just possible to think of language as a technology, and it certainly is.
Which is a huge,
one of the most important technologies ever.
Its language has been really blowing my mind.
It's a crazy system, man.
Yeah, just our ability to articulate our experiences with mouth noises and how each other understand them.
He has no idea.
Yeah.
Or she.
She
has no idea.
Sasha. She
thinks we're just babbling, making random noises.
Yeah, and the best she can muster to get our attention is a meow.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll just make mouth noises too, and they'll look at me.
Yeah, cats don't really meow at each other.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of other little...
They'll hiss and they'll like purr, but they won't meow at each other.
It's weird.
They'll only meow at people.
The best it's like their closest attempt at talking.
But yeah, I've been trying to learn a handful of languages at once over the last little bit, and I mean, I love it. I feel like a little kid again, and in a lot of ways I am. You know, it's really strange. I really like doing it, and obviously I can read and write in like all the ones I'm practicing now.
Awesome.
Not like
some examples of like what languages are you learning?
Well, let me see here. We got
the private collection,
public collection of works: Portuguese, German, Swedish. French.
Jesus.
I was trying to learn French on Duolingo.
Well, that's what I've been using Duolingo. And like I said, like I'm a staunch believer. I think this is true for music and learning anything, of course, but language especially, is that you need to submerge yourself in it in order to actually learn it, or in the case of language, learn how to actually speak it. But like, you know, it's done wonders. Like I can read and write and sort of think in a handful of different ways that I couldn't before, you know?
That's really cool.
That's what trips me out when I'm starting to... I've only ever gotten far enough, and I'm not even going to try and claim that I can speak any French, like, in a conversation.
It's so Canadian!
But, you know, you start to see something, and like, not only the English word pops in your head, but also the French word. So,
well, funny story. It's not... It's just the way I like doing it, but I like translating things literally as possible. Because functionally it's useless, but like it gives you an idea of just how that language and those people who speak that language have always have always thought.
Let me move over to the couch.
Okay, buddy.
Come on, let's...
I like sugar and ones, dude.
You know?
For people who don't know, there's no oil in this house, so we just heated up some blankets in the dryer, and things are getting fucking cozy.
Shit is ghetto.
I was trying to learn a bit of Mandarin, sort of because we have an inside joke in the lab where I don't know how it started. We have someone in the lab, Kushin. He's from Shandong province of China, and we have Kyle or Zhonghua, who is from Korea, and then there's me from Nova Scotia and another Nova Scotian. And we somehow got on this sort of inside joke of, you think I'm garbage? It's like someone, like, if you criticize Kyle or someone like that, you're like, oh, so you think I'm garbage? Like, not seriously. And it turned into like this one guy started trying to speak in French, and he'd be like, "Tu penses que je suis une poubelle?" Like, so literal. So it doesn't actually make sense.
You think of a can? Yeah,
exactly. Well, he'd point at the empty garbage can or something, and then I tried to translate it into Mandarin, which is "Ni yi wei wo shulasi," which it doesn't sound quite like that, obviously, because it's like "Ni yi wei wo shulasi."
Yeah.
Ma, I think ma is like it's. Huh? So we try our best to like
make language.
Yeah.
Just imagine you going to some place where they speak Mandarin and not getting good customer service.
No, not if they said that. No.
No, you would be the one saying that, because they would give you shoddy service and you'd say,
"Oh yeah, that's a good point. I can't wait."
You can hide a dumpster, and then when somebody opens it, throw something in, and you could say that.
I could.
Yeah. They'd have probable evidence that you were garbage.
Yeah.
They'd say you're inside this garbage can.
Yeah.
Very useful.
Yeah, my mind is programmed to think that what's in there is garbage.
I'm like basically teaching 3 Syrians how to speak English. It's like half of my job right now.
You getting paid overtime for that? Or?
No, it's just while we're working, like the guys are just asking me like what things are, or how they would say certain things, and like, yeah, I'm from Newfoundland, and we don't talk right. Like, you know, by the proper way to speak English. Or proper program of everyone.
No one speaks English right.
Exactly.
Not even Americans speak English right.
But
like
Newfies say some things that just it's not grammatically correct or something. Anyway, so
that's
like,
honestly that's like 90% of like casually colloquial discourse. You know, it's idioms and metaphors and like because like that's the real trip. Honestly, I like when I'm trying to like learn a lesson or whatever. Like I like just like I said, I like literally trying to just as a case in point, Swedish has no verb for to wear or to don or to clothe yourself or whatever. The functional to wear, like to wear something, is basically you say jag har på mig, which is literally I have upon or on me. And it's saying, you have on you, he has on him, she has on her, we have on us, etc. But like, I don't know. I just like doing it like that. I like doing it literally because it gives you a little window into like the way like that things get constructed. And a lot of the Germanic Northern European languages are obviously all chock full of like Latin because of the Roman Empire and everything, but like they're also chock full of just like so many like little like verb fragments and like conditional like tenses and like things that work sometimes but not others.
There was a linguist, I guess that's the name, who studies language. Anyway, they said that like Newfoundlandese is like one of the most complex forms of English.
Nice.
No doubt.
It's crazy. Like,
that makes sense.
It's just we have so many like. English is complex as it is, but we have so many other things added to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I remember adverb modifiers like right, good.
Yeah.
And that sums it up.
Well, I remember like I was drunk myself, but I was just teetering on the brink of barely being able to not understand your dad. Once he got a little drunk, I could understand him fine every other like moment, but then he's got a little bit of liquor in him, and I was like, oh shit. Like I got to keep up, and I did it. Like I could understand him fine, but like it's just like. But then like when your grandma called on the phone, I mean obviously it was like really bad audio quality, but like I was like okay, yep, that's hard.
And like
That's
from
hard,
town
buddy.
to town, like
Yeah.
like I'm from Port Saunders, we would make fun of people from Hawke's Bay, which is like a 10-minute drive, how they would speak.
Yeah.
Like and there's a lot of differences. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but each town in Newfoundland, like Port Saunders is full of people from England, and Hawke's Bay is probably full of people from Ireland or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Oh yeah, I find
weird.
it interesting too. I sometimes wonder, like, who was it that landed in Boston? Where did that one come from? Crazy accent.
That was a weird hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most things are.
It's Italian.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just making a guess.
Some gringos.
Oh, good goes. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I got work in the morning. Probably go to bed soon.
Mm.
Oh,
That's how
final
it is.
thought.
Okay.
I had a question for you, Mike.
Uh-oh.
What do you think? Has there been any psychological or neurological profiling of cancer patients? Or studies done in that regard?
Yeah,
Yeah?
looking at the mental health of
Well,
cancer patients. And
I
also,
guess that, but also just like the tendencies of their personality tendencies, I guess.
I don't know. I'd have to look into it. I know there's like as far as studies looking at the behaviors of cancer patients, the only familiarity I have with that kind of research is people who work in kinesiology and looking at behaviors in regards to activity, while being a cancer patient or afterwards. That's the extent I've ever learned about it.
Yeah.
So I unfortunately I don't really know as far as psychological profiles.
That makes sense. That's the case. I ask because, like, as cheesy as this sounds, and new agey and floofy, but my parents were both diagnosed with cancer, right? And their afflictions, I guess, or their kinds of cancer, actually did correspond to the areas of their bodies where their corresponding chakras would have been the most out of whack.
So in what type of cancers are these?
Well, my mother had breast cancer, and basically everything, well, not necessarily emotionally or spiritually wrong with her as per se, was, but basically, like, I don't know, I looked at, I did very barely any reading into it, but like, I was like, I don't know how I got on the topic, but I just kept reading, and I was
Motivation's
just like,
there.
yeah, and I was just like, well, like, because like I was reading like what happens when you don't like, as far as the Hindu tradition or whatever goes, like what happens when your heart chakra is out of whack or whatever, and it had a list of things. It had like a lot of behavioral things. It had a lot of like emotional things or whatever, and yeah, I don't know. It kind of it's synced up. I realize that a sample size of 2 is nothing to go on, obviously. But
No, but that's where these things start.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm off the Iceman, one
Yeah.
guy.
And similarly enough, my dad, who had colon cancer, had his emotional or spiritual lack or absences, I guess, actually really did correspond very well with the things that correspond to not having a solid root chakra, And
It's
that's
crazy
like,
to think about too, because he was a pilot. It's like
exactly.
literally
He
not
was
being
always
grounded.
trying to not be grounded, He was always trying to fly off and like, but,
Well, I mean, I guess my only response to that would be is that those are both very common types of cancer.
Yeah,
so that's
true.
the only thing I can say.
That is also very
Colon
true.
cancer. I
And honestly,
the research is on colon
Maybe
cancer
many
cells.
people have issues. And
yeah, honestly though, like my
Maybe.
parents both have like very like prevalent issues that modern people have, as far as their, emotional or spiritual well-being, I guess you could say, would be concerned. But
I think we disregarded that people need some sort of sense of spirituality or some kind of relationship with something that isn't tangible in any way. That's why I think mushrooms spoke so well to me as a youth, because as far as I was considered, I was an atheist and all these things, and I had this intensely spiritual experience that I couldn't put into any other kind of language than just say those kinds of things about it, and my life has improved as a result. And like, see, it's like this, people have a hole in their soul. It's like we can't objectively prove that God is real or that there's any necessity for these things. Like we can't prove there's a necessity for having music and art in our culture, but it seems like people are lacking without that real sense of meaning
Absolutely. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know for certain there's like, you know, obviously there's like physical, actual, like physiological and like genetic